Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerderotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler and I come to you from Nerderotic.com. A quick weekend video for you here to carry over to the week. And this week's theme is going to be Access Media to the Rescue. Now, my previous live stream link will be in the description. I went over an IO9 article which said the ratings dip really wasn't that bad, even though it was almost a 50% drop from premiere to finale and the New Year's Day special. And part of the reason for the ratings drop was, well, you moved it from Christmas Day, and we correctly predicted, along with other YouTubers, that they would take a ratings hit moving from that day because families don't hang out on New Year's Day. And, well, we've already gone over that in our review video. But another reason for the drop within the season, not particularly with the New Year's Day episode, is politics, political correctness. Now a defense article comes out from the Radio Times, and then IO9 mirrored it, with an interview with Chris Chibnall saying, Chris Chibnall calls Doctor Who's political stories fundamental, or fundamentalist. But that's a different headline from RT, which points out kind of what my argument's going to be. Chris Chibnall defends Doctor Who's focus on social issues. It's fundamental. And now we finally get some honesty, and they just said, screw it. Yeah, it's fundamental to the show. No, it's fundamental to the current writers. It is not fundamental to the show. The show was not based on politics first. It was supposed to be educational when it started, but it turned into something else. It is a sci-fi fantasy drama with mixed genres, a little bit of horror, a little bit of comedy. That's what made it a perfect template. It's not that anymore, but that's because it's political first. I thought I'd made that argument clear in a few videos, but since Chibnall's chimed in, I feel like I need to chime back a little bit. Now let's go over this article, and at least we get some insight where these writers are coming from, and then I'll tell you why these writers aren't fit to write politics or science fiction. Now, we're only going to read the Radio Times article because that was the source article. The IO9 article essentially says the same exact thing. Chris Chibnall defends Doctor Who's focus on social issues. It's fundamental. Jodie Whittaker's first series as a Doctor was accused by some, of political correctness, but the head writer says it's a response to, oh, here we go, the times we're living in. How many times have we heard that from Star Trek actors, Star Trek creators, Doctor Who creators? These hard and difficult socio-economical times we live in. Really, you're prancing around as an adult pretending for an exorbitant amount of money in something that costs millions of dollars, and I bet you go back to millions of dollars flat or house. But yeah, let's go on talking about these times we live in. Are you talking about all those little people that you don't spend a lot of time with? Well, I'm one of them. And yeah, I've seen worse times. Thankfully, this is a short one, folks, so bear with me. Doctor Who boss Chris Chibnall has defended the BBC sci-fi drama's focus on social issues during the most recent series, telling fans that you want to be writing about the world you live in. Again, no, I don't want to watch Doctor Who and see the world that you think we live in. Okay, let's use I statements here, Chris. Some of the series' storylines, which saw the new Doctor Jodie Whittaker and her TARDIS team tackle issues including racism and sexism throughout time and space. Yep, that's it. Prior to Series 11 coming out, we were discussing in our live streams, you know what Doctor Who's missing? Space sexism and space racism. I hope they tackle these issues when it comes out. We'll go over that one more time. Some of the series' storylines, which saw new Doctor Jodie Whittaker and her TARDIS team tackle issues like racism and sexism throughout time and space, had been criticized by certain viewers. What is a certain viewer, Radio Times? The reason you are called shills and in a nicer way access journalism is because of articles like these. You try to minimize the critical voices when you know it's not just a few or a certain amount of people. We are the certain amount of people who have carried this franchise for over 55 years, who have spent thousands of hours, thousands of dollars on Doctor Who. Yeah, those certain type of people. As too politically correct, claiming that under Chibnall's leadership, the show had a more social progressive outlook at the expense of storytelling. Here we go again, folks. Listen to this wording. Many more fans, meanwhile, noted that Doctor Who has always been a show that examined issues of prejudice, hate, and social justice. Yes, it has, but it's never been its primary focus. It has been about a madman in a box running around getting adventures with his companions and having some fun. And yes, we deal with some issues along the way. These are not issues that anybody's generally against. When you throw in a Brexit joke, that's what we're talking about. So we're arguing semantics. But they know what they're arguing about, they being Radio Times and Access Journalism running defense, and the many more fans who feel that it's been political is an insinuation or a blatant accusation that we are just a minority. While some of the series' actors, including Whitaker herself and companions Tosin Cole and Mandeep Gill, they used the word companions, wrong think, argued the storylines were an accurate reflection of modern society. It probably is a very accurate representation of the elitist society cocktail parties that Chris Chibnall goes to. Now, Chibnall has also weighed in on the issue, telling fans at a screening for the upcoming New Year's Day episode Resolution, which I will remind you currently sits locked in with a 100% critic score and a 15% audience score, that he thought touching on these topics was really important for Doctor Who. I gotta say, this is a bit of a pet peeve with me. I really dislike the term, it's an important TV show, it's an important film. It's really pretentious, and unless a defibrillator is going to come out of the screen and save somebody's life or you're going to actually cure cancer, no, it's not important. On the grand scheme of things, entertainment serves its purpose. We do like to protect our escapism here, but water's important, shelter's important, food's important. I think this is just a way for creatives to justify their existence because they feel bad that they're making so much money pretending for a living or writing people pretending for a living. Well, don't. Just act a little grateful once in a while and don't virtue signal so much because you feel guilty and bore us to death. I go on. I think it's fundamental, Chibnall said. I think you want to be writing about the world we live in. The show is not a standalone thing. It's a response to the times that we're living in and the world that we're living in. And when it comes to things that affect people's lives, I think particularly things that children and young adults are going through, that feels really important. I think the character of the Doctor and her friends as well is a great conduit in discussing all that. And then you add monsters as well, like those evil white men. Yes, those horrible, horrible monsters. Well, Chris, when you take something that was not fundamentally political and make it fundamentalist political, people tend to get mad. This is why you shouldn't be the showrunner. You got it all wrong. Now, I think he's just under marching orders and he's just doing what he's told and he's being a good soldier. I will defend him in that. But I do think he believes that stuff too. Now, I don't know what his upbringing was and I don't want to attack him personally. I'm sure he's a perfectly fine gentleman who can write some pretty decent drama, but really is out of his element with science fiction and fantasy. Yes, intelligent writers can write politics and science fiction well. Hacks cannot. Average writers cannot. You need to be really, really sharp to write a good political story in science fiction, one that everybody can enjoy. So you either don't care or you're not smart enough. And I don't think you're dumb. So I think it's a part of the audience they really don't think much about. Even the Radio Times itself says many more fans believe the show has always been political, and certain fans are talking about political correctness. And here comes the unsurprising bad news. So from the sounds of it, plenty more real-world issues will be tackled by the Doctor and her pals when the series returns for another run in 2020. Guess we can start the argument all over again in a year or so then. Oh, the argument is not over, Radio Times. Not by a long shot. Politics and social issues are not fundamental to Doctor Who. Fun is fundamental to Doctor Who. So I'm going to do something a little different here. We're going to go to the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, and I'm going to put a word search in here, and I'm just going to type in the few first letters of the word political and see what we come up with. Oh, we've got 6. Just in one page, we've got 6. And we're going to read some of them. Shui S. in her 2.5-star review writes, I've seen her character does not fit the view of the Doctors we've seen and adored for a long time now, and I don't feel she'll be able to show this in her next season either. The writing is also absolutely terrible and needs to be improved as well as scrapping the political nonsense. I'll go watch BBC Parliament if I want to see that. This season was average at best. I feel that is pushing it. I would agree. Marissa C. Villains this season were utter trash and 0% scary, and a bunch of things made no sense. And don't let me start with politics in the show. Chris turned the once-loved sci-fi show into a political propaganda so obvious that it's unwatchable anymore. 1 star. It saddens me greatly how my once favorite sci-fi fantasy program turned into blatant political propaganda. The show no longer convinces with imagination and captivating adventures through time and space. That essential part had been replaced with mundane storytelling and shallow characters. Liam W. Doctor Who used to be about traveling through time and space facing monsters past and present, sometimes having a social message underneath it all. Now, it's about giving a social lecture, sometimes having a monster underneath it all. What a pathetic excuse for a season. You know, Chris, every doctor has an identity. Jodie Whittaker is the political doctor, and that will be your legacy. And I will end it with the sum up from David S., who really didn't bring up politics at all, but he has a great point. I want this to be better. I want Jodie to be an amazing doctor. I believe she can be that. I don't. But if you believe you're already perfect, 1, you're massively deluding yourself, and 2, now he put B, but we know what you meant there, you will never, ever have a reason to improve. Please don't ignore us. And I will add, ignore us at your peril. Doctor Who has recent lessons right before them with Marvel Comics, Star Wars, and Star Trek, and they're choosing to ignore it and double down just like everybody thought they would. So in the spirit of Season 11 and the episode Rosa, here is a synopsis we may hear for Series 12, Episode Jackie. Dallas, Texas, 1963. The Doctor and her fam, accompanied by Fidel Castro, meet a woman named Jackie on a fateful day and are witnesses to history. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't, thanks for listening this long. Please go to nerdrotic.com where we have everything backed up. You could also listen to us on iTunes. We do 3 live streams a week. Monday and Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time is the Nerdrotic Nooner, and Friday Night Tights with my co-host Susan Layton at 7 p.m. Pacific. Despite what's happening to our franchises, don't get down because there's a lot of good stuff out there, and we do cover it here like Counterpart and The Expanse. And whether you like this show or hate this show, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I want you to truly have a great day. May the small folks sing songs of greatness.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.